A poor girl paid for a lost man's meal, not knowing he was the billionaire CEO. Before we begin this story, tell me where you're watching from and rate this story from 0 to 10 in the comments. Enjoy the story. The morning sun floods an apartment that looks more like a minimalist art gallery. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls reveal a breathtaking view of the city waking up. The furniture is sparse, expensive, and cold. There are no family photos, no books out of place, no sign of a life lived, only the sterile perfection of a luxury catalog. Ethan is standing in front of the glass wall, wearing only sweatpants. He holds a cup of black coffee, but doesn't drink it. His eyes aren't on the magnificent view, but on something far beyond. He looks like a stranger in his own home. The move to this new city, officially to lead the largest expansion of Nexus Tech, was a business masterstroke. But the truth was he was running away, running from his father's shadow, from the superficiality of his social circle, and from an arranged engagement that nearly suffocated him. He was at the top, but the air was thin and empty. His eyes land on his running gear, meticulously arranged in a corner. It was his only escape valve, the only moment when the noise in his head fell silent, replaced by the sound of his feet hitting the pavement and his heart hammering in his chest. It was time to run. It was time to escape. The morning air is crisp and smells of pine. Ethan stretches at the park entrance. He is in his element, his body responding with the precision of a well-oiled machine. He begins his run. The first few miles are a ritual of power and control. Every step is strong. Every breath is measured. He overtakes other runners with ease, his mind focused, clearing the cobwebs of corporate worries. In his short time in the city, he had already memorized the main trail. It was safe, mapped out, predictable, and Ethan hated predictable. He reaches a fork in the path. To the left, the familiar and safe route. To the right, a narrower trail, almost swallowed by vegetation, with an old, illegible wooden sign. An invitation to the unknown. A genuine smile, the first of the day, appears on his lips. He doesn't hesitate. He turns right, plunging into the woods, eager to get lost so he could find himself. The vegetation is now dense and hostile. The trail has disappeared, replaced by a labyrinth of trees and bushes. The sun is stronger and the air more stifling. Sweat pours down Ethan's face. His breath is heavy, not just from the effort, but from a growing anxiety. The confidence from the start of his run had given way to frustration. He stops, hands on his knees, looking in every direction. Everything looks the same. The silence of the woods, once his refuge, now seemed to mock him, amplifying his complete lack of direction. The man who controlled a billion-dollar empire couldn't even control his own way back. Thirst begins to scratch at his throat. For the first time, he feels a real physical vulnerability. Stripped of his technology, his status, and his sense of direction, he was just a lost man. He picks a direction at random and starts walking, each step an admission of his defeat to nature. Ethan emerges from the woods, and the contrast is shocking. He finds himself on a modest street with small wooden houses, fences in need of paint, and the sound of children laughing in the distance. It's an analog, textured, real world. His appearance is strange here, his designer clothes now dirty and torn, his expensive sneakers covered in mud. He is an anomaly in this setting. Hunger and thirst are now sharp pains. He feels dizzy, exposed. His eyes scan the street for help and land on a faded sign, Corner Bakery and Deli.
The humble place looks like an oasis. He puts his hand in his pocket out of pure reflex and feels the emptiness. His wallet and cell phone were left in the car, miles away. The humiliation of having to ask for help hits him, but the need is greater. He pushes the door, and the sound of a small bell announces his entry into Leah's world. The place is small and cozy. The smell of coffee and fresh bread hangs in the air. Behind the counter, a tired-looking attendant wipes the counter with slow movements. In line, Leah, holding a manila folder, mentally rehearses the answers for the job interview that could change her life. She wasn't there to buy anything. The money in her purse was the exact amount for the bus fare. Her plan was simple and humble. Get to the counter and ask for a cup of water, just to calm the nervousness churning in her stomach. Ethan approaches the counter, his polite voice contrasting with his disheveled appearance. Ethan: "Excuse me, could I get a bottle of water and a bagel? I got lost on my run and don't have my wallet. Can I put it on a tab and come back to pay later?" The attendant looks him over, a look of pure disdain. Attendant: "Come back to pay? Sure, pal. This ain't a charity. No cash, no product. Next." The word next hits Ethan like a slap. He stands paralyzed, humiliation burning his face. In line, Leah's heart stops. She sees the shame on the stranger's face, a shame she knew intimately. She looks at the few bills and coins in her hand, the money that was her only bridge to the interview. Her mind screams at her not to get involved, to think of herself. But her heart, resilient and empathetic, wins the battle. She steps forward. Leah, to the attendant: "It's okay. I'll pay for him. I'll have 2 bottles of water and 2 bagels, please." Leah pays, handing over her future in exchange for an act of compassion for a stranger. Ethan watches her, stunned. He who lived surrounded by people who only wanted something from him had just been saved by someone who had almost nothing to give. That simple gesture shook his world in a way no billion-dollar deal ever had. The midday sun beats down hard on the sidewalk. The noise of the street is the soundtrack to the moment that will change both their lives forever. Leah hands the water and bagel to Ethan. He drinks and eats as if it were the best meal of his life. Ethan: "I don't even know how to thank you. You didn't have to do that." Leah, a small smile: "Everyone needs help sometimes, and no one deserves to be treated like that." The conversation flows. He notices the folder in her hand. Ethan: "Looking for a job?" Leah: "Trying, but it's tough." Ethan's instinct is to repay her kindness, but the fear of revealing his identity makes him create a complex solution, a half-truth that will later become a web. Ethan: "Look, there's a new company opening an office downtown, Nexus Tech. They're hiring. Why don't you take your resume there? Say that a friend, Ethan, sent you. I know him well. His name will open doors for you." He detaches himself from the reference, creating a safe distance. When she gets up to leave, he stops her, embarrassed to have to ask for more. "Sorry, could I possibly use your cell phone for a quick call?" She hands him the device without hesitation. Before dialing, he looks confused. Ethan, looking around, a bit disoriented. "Just one more thing. Can you tell me where we are? I ran so far I have no idea." Leah smiles, amused by his genuinely lost situation. "Of course. You're on Magnolia Street and Oak Avenue. It's a bit of an older neighborhood." Magnolia and Oak. Got it. Thanks. He calls David, repeats the address Leah gave him, and hangs up. The gratitude in his eyes is immense. He returns the phone. "You saved my life today twice. I won't forget this." Leah: "I'm happy to help." She pauses before leaving. "And good luck on your search. Seriously, take your resume to Nexus." Leah turns to leave, but stops and looks back at him with a curious smile. Leah: "By the way, I'm Leah." The simple question catches him by surprise. Panic flashes in his eyes for a split second. He can't say Ethan, the name he just used as a reference from a friend. Ethan: "Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Alex." "It was a pleasure, Alex. Good luck getting home." She says goodbye with a wave and walks away, leaving Alex alone on the sidewalk. He watches her go, the weight of the new lie adding to the secret. He hadn't just hidden who he was, he had created a new person, a person who, he feared, might never get the chance to meet Leah again. As Leah walked away, she wasn't just a girl with new hope, but also a girl with a practical problem. Compassion has a price, and she had paid it with her only bus fare.
For Ethan, or rather Alex, the journey home would be quick and comfortable. For Leah, The journey toward her future would be a trial by fire, an urban pilgrimage that would test the limits of her resilience. Leah stops at a bus stop a few blocks from the bakery. The sun is strong. She sits on the hot metal bench, the folder with her resume on her lap like a shield. With slightly trembling hands, she opens her small purse and counts what's left. A few coins. Enough for a single fare, not for a round trip. She sighs, but there's no regret on her face, only the weight of a decision. She looks toward downtown, a jungle of tall buildings visible in the distance. And then she looks at the coins in her hand. Taking the bus would mean getting there fast, but with no way back. Going on foot would be a long, exhausting journey, but it would guarantee her return home regardless of the interview's outcome. She closes her hand over the coins with determination. She puts the money back in her purse as if it were a treasure. She stands up, tucks her folder under her arm, and starts to walk. She wouldn't take the bus. She would walk. Each step would be an investment in her future, saving the return fare as an act of faith that she would need it. Leah walks along the sidewalk. The simple neighborhood, with its colorful houses, slowly gives way to more industrial areas, with warehouses and graffitied walls. The traffic noise increases. She walks with a steady pace, hope still fresh in her mind. Meanwhile, a black luxury sedan, impeccably clean, turns the corner of Magnolia Street and Oak Avenue. The car stops smoothly next to Ethan. David, 60s, a man with gray hair and a serene expression, gets out of the driver's seat. David: "Mr. Miller? Are you all right, sir?" He notices Ethan's disheveled appearance, the dirty clothes, but his expression remains professional and calm. "I'm fine, David. I had a detour." David opens the back door for him. Ethan gets in and sinks into the soft leather seat. The contrast with the hard sidewalk where he had been sitting is almost comical. The air conditioning is an instant relief. The car glides silently through the streets, leaving the simple neighborhood behind and entering wider, tree-laned avenues. The interior is a sanctuary of luxury and silence. David looks at Ethan in the rearview mirror, noticing the bagel in his boss's hand. "David, you managed to get something to eat, at least, sir." Ethan looks at the bagel as if seeing it for the first time. A melancholic smile touches his lips. "A girl bought it for me, David. She paid for it with what looked like her last dollar." David remains silent for a moment, absorbing the information. He's worked for the Miller family for over 30 years. He's seen Ethan grow up surrounded by people who always wanted something. "David," his voice calm and wise, "people like that are rare, sir, especially in our world." "I know." He leans back in his seat, his gaze lost on the passing scenery. "She had no idea who I was. She just saw a guy in trouble and helped. No ulterior motives, no asking for anything in return." Ethan falls silent, reflecting. That small act of anonymous kindness had impacted him more than any grand gesture from people who knew his last name. He was amazed and at the same time ashamed of the lie he had told. "Take me home, David. I need to shower and get to the office. I have a feeling today is going to be an important day." Leah is now on a major avenue. The noise of the cars is deafening. The sun is at its peak and there aren't many trees for shade. The asphalt radiates heat. She stops at another bus stop, not to wait, but to rest. She sits down, takes off one of her shoes and massages her sore foot. Her shoes, a pair of simple flats she's had for years, are showing signs of extreme wear. The sole of one is visibly coming apart. She takes a sip of one of the waters she bought for Ethan, rationing the precious liquid. The exhaustion is evident on her face, but in her eyes, determination still burns. After a long walk, Leah is visibly exhausted, but her face lights up. She can see the Nexus Tech skyscraper, a giant of glass and steel that seems to touch the clouds. She's close. The sight gives her a new surge of energy. She takes another step and feels something strange.
She looks down. The sole of her left flat has torn completely, hanging on by a thread. The shoe is ruined. Tears of frustration well up in her eyes, to get so close only to be betrayed by her own shoes. For a moment she stands there, desolate, in the middle of the busy sidewalk, people passing her by without noticing. The urge to give up is immense. But then she thinks of the humiliated look on the man's face in the bakery, the hope in her own voice when she heard about the job. She takes a deep breath. With a decisive gesture, she bends down, takes off the broken shoe, and then takes off the other one. With the folder in one hand and her ruined shoes in the other, Leah continues her journey, barefoot. She would not give up. Not now. Meanwhile, Ethan steps out of a marble shower, steam enveloping him. The water washed away the dirt, but not the memory of the encounter. He goes to his closet, a room the size of Leah's apartment. He ignores the casual clothes and chooses an expensive dark gray suit. He puts on a flawless white shirt. He puts on a luxury watch, its value enough to pay Leah's rent for years. He looks at himself in the mirror. The dirty, vulnerable man, Alex, has disappeared. In his place is Ethan Miller, the CEO. The armor was back on. He picks up his leather briefcase and leaves the apartment. As the private elevator descends silently, he can't get the face of the girl who bought him a bagel out of his mind. He's on his way to the office, unaware that fate is moving the pieces so that his two worlds, that of Ethan Miller and that of Leah, will collide in a way he could never have predicted. After a journey that tested the limits of her body, Leah had reached her destination. But as she crossed the glass doors of Nexus Tech, she discovered that the hardest walk hadn't been on the hot asphalt, but would be on the cold marble that stretched out before her. The Nexus Tech lobby is a sanctuary of power. The silence is almost aseptic, broken only by the soft click of expensive shoes on the immaculate white marble floor. Executives in dark suits glide through the space like specters, speaking in low tones on their cell phones. In the center, the reception desk looks like a monolith of black quartz, polished like a mirror. The air is cold, controlled, and smells of money and ambition. The automatic glass doors slide open and Leah enters, and the silence becomes heavy, dense. She is an open wound in the sterile perfection of the place. Her face is covered in a thin layer of sweat and dust. Her clothes, once neat, are now wrinkled and damp. In one hand, she holds the folder with her resume, and in the other, the remains of her ruined shoes. And her feet, barefoot and dirty with city grime, mark the floor with each hesitant step. The marble is freezing under her skin. At that moment, the conversation stops.
The executives turn. The stares are like needles, a mixture of shock, disgust, and morbid curiosity. No one says anything, but the collective judgment is a physical force that hits her full on. For an instant, Leah's body wants to retreat, to flee from that silent humiliation. But then she remembers the long walk, the determination that brought her there. She lifts her chin, takes a deep breath, and walks in a straight line to the reception desk, ignoring the stares as best she can. The receptionist, a woman with an impeccable hairstyle and a professional smile that looks painted on, watches her approach. Her eyes widen for a split second when she notices Leah's bare feet. The smile falters, turning into a thin line of disapproval. "Yes? How can I help you?" Leah places the folder and her broken shoes on the quartz counter. The sound of plastic and rubber hitting the polished stone is a small act of defiance. "My name is Leah. I'm here to drop off my resume. I was referred by a friend, Ethan." The name Ethan makes the receptionist raise an eyebrow. She looks from the folder to the shoes, to the dirty feet, and back to Leah's tired face. A barely disguised expression of disdain takes over her face. "Ethan, that's a powerful name to have as a friend. You wouldn't happen to know his last name, would you?" She leans forward, as if about to deliver the final blow and dismiss Leah, when the scene is interrupted by a new perspective. On a glass mezzanine that circles the upper floor, overlooking the lobby, Ethan Miller walks alongside a director. He is already back in his armor, the impeccable suit, the luxury watch, and the commanding posture. The director is talking about profit projections, but Ethan's attention is drawn by the unusual silence that has risen from the floor below. He stops and looks down at the lobby. He sees the small crowd of employees standing still, staring at the reception desk. And then he sees her. His heart stops. It's Leah. Exhausted, dirty, and barefoot. A whirlwind of emotions hits him. First, an overwhelming admiration for her strength, then a crushing wave of guilt. He was the one who sent her here, with no idea of the ordeal she would face to arrive. And finally, a cold, protective fury as he sees the look of contempt on the receptionist's face. He turns to the director, his jaw tight. "Excuse me for a second. This is urgent." He doesn't wait for a response. Turning his back on the director, he walks away quickly, heading for a more isolated side corridor, away from prying eyes and ears. He pulls his cell phone from the inner pocket of his suit, his fingers flying across the screen to find Helen O'Davis's contact. He presses call, his face a mask of restrained fury. Back at the counter, the receptionist is about to dismiss Leah. "Look, miss, if you don't have any more information, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." The phone on her desk rings, a shrill sound that makes her jump. She answers, irritation in her voice. "Reception?" "Yes, Miss Davis." The expression on her face transforms. The disdain vanishes, replaced by a pale panic. Her eyes widen as she looks at Leah, now with fear. "Yes, ma'am, she's right here." "Yes, I understand. Immediately." She hangs up the phone slowly, as if in a trance. She stares at Leah, the barefoot girl who a minute ago was a nuisance and was now apparently a priority for the board. Miss Davis, our Director of Human Resources is waiting for you." "The private elevator?" "It's this way. She wants to see you. Now." Leah, too exhausted to understand the sudden change, just stares at the woman, confused. The receptionist, now terrified, gestures towards an elevator that Leah hadn't even noticed.
The pilgrim had arrived at the gate of the oasis, and to everyone's astonishment, it was about to open. In the elevator, each passing floor was a step further away from the world she knew. She had no idea what awaited her on the 15th floor, but holding her broken shoes like a strange amulet, she knew there was no going back. The elevator is a silent, luxurious cocoon. The walls are a dark, polished mahogany, the floor is marble, and the air has a faint scent of leather. There are no other passengers. It's a space of isolation and power. Leah stands in the center of the elevator, almost afraid to touch the walls. She sees her faint reflection in the mahogany, her sweaty face, disheveled hair, wrinkled clothes. She looks down at her bare, dirty feet on the immaculate floor and then at the ruined shoes in her hand. A wave of shame washes over her. Who was she trying to fool? What kind of prestigious company would take her seriously in this state? The sudden turnaround at reception now seems like a mistake, a cruel prank that would only make the final rejection even more painful. The soft ding of the elevator announcing her arrival on the 15th floor sounds like a sentence. The elevator door opens directly into an elegant antechamber that leads to a single imposing office. The office of Helena Davis, 50s, is a sanctuary of minimalist power. An entire glass wall offers a breathtaking view of the city. Her desk is a large slab of oak, organized with surgical precision. There is no clutter, only control. Helena is sitting behind the desk, a woman with impeccable posture, dressed in a designer suit, whose expression is analytical and indecipherable.
Leah enters hesitantly, feeling like an intruder in a temple. The Persian rug under her feet is the first soft surface she has felt in hours. Helena Davis. Bluntly, but without the hostility of the receptionist, her voice is calm, controlled. "Miss Leah, please, have a seat." She gestures to the chair in front of her. She doesn't comment on Leah's appearance, nor on the shoes in her hand, and this lack of reaction is, somehow, even more intimidating. Helena has Leah's resume on a tablet in front of her. Leah sits on the edge of the chair, carefully placing her broken shoes on the floor beside her. She waits for the blow, for the humiliating question about her appearance. But it doesn't come. Helena Davis. She slides her finger across the tablet, her eyes fixed on the screen. "Your resume is surprising." She finally looks up, and her eyes are sharp as razors. Exemplary grades from a state university, volunteer projects with measurable results, glowing letters of recommendation from your professors. Honestly, it's one of the best resumes I've seen this year. Leah remains silent, completely shocked. Helena Davis. "What confuses me," she continues, leaning forward, "is how the owner of this resume arrives at my company barefoot, mentioning my CEO's first name as if he were an old friend. So, please, help me understand what's happening here." The question is direct, without subterfuge. Leah is cornered. She could make up a story, try to justify herself, but exhausted and with nothing left to lose, she clings to the only thing she has left, the raw, disconcerting truth. "Leah." Her voice low but clear. "To be honest, ma'am, I'm confused too." She takes a deep breath. "I was on my way here when I came across a man who was being mistreated in a bakery. He was lost with no money. I helped him. We talked, and he gave me the tip about the job opening. He said to use the name Ethan as a reference. My shoe broke on the way because I had to walk. I'd never seen him before in my life. I don't know who he is or why the receptionist changed her mind. I just know that this resume is mine and that I would do anything for a chance to work here." Helena stares at her, a long, heavy silence filling the room. She's an expert at detecting lies, an essential skill in her position. And she sees none in Leah. She sees exhaustion, she sees sincerity, and above all, she sees a will of steel behind the fragile appearance. She understands that Ethan, in one of his mysterious impulses, has placed this extraordinary candidate in her path. Her job wasn't to question the boss, but to recognize talent.
She slides the tablet aside, her decision made. Well, regardless, your merit speaks for itself. The resilience you've shown just to get to this chair confirms what your resume says. We have an opening for a junior market analyst on the 12th floor. The salary is excellent, with full benefits. She pauses, looking Leah in the eye. The position is yours, if you want it. The words hit Leah like a wave. The tension of the whole day, of her whole life of struggle, dissolves. The tears she held back on the sidewalk, at reception, now flow uncontrollably. But this time, they are not of frustration or humiliation. They are of pure, overwhelming joy. Leah is still in the chair, trying to process the wave of emotion, tears of joy silently streaming down her face. Helena Davis watches her with an analytical but not cold gaze. She sees the strength, the exhaustion, and the raw reality of the situation. Helena opens a drawer of her impeccable desk and takes out a corporate card and a small form. She slides it across the desk toward Leah. "Helena, Nexus Tech expects its employees to start off on the right foot, and in your case, that's literal." Leah stares at her, confused.
This is a welcome advance. Use it to buy shoes, proper work clothes, and to cover your transportation this week. We want you here tomorrow at 9, focused and ready to start, without having to worry about anything else." Leah looks from the card to Helena's face, completely speechless. The kindness was as unexpected as the job offer. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Truly." Helena gives a nod, her tone returning to purely professional. "Don't thank me. Just prove I was right to hire you. Welcome to Nexus Tech." Leah stands up, takes her card, her folder, and her broken shoes. As she leaves the office and re-enters the private elevator, her mind is spinning. A dream job, an advance for new clothes, all because of a series of events so unlikely they seemed like a dream. And at the center of it all, the question that echoed in her mind: who was the mysterious Ethan with so much power, and why had he helped her? Leah enters a modest shoe store. She doesn't look at the high heels, but at comfortable, durable leather flats. She sits down and tries on a pair. The camera focuses on her face as she feels the comfort of the new shoe on her tired foot. It's an expression of pure relief. She throws her ruined shoes in the trash can outside the store, a symbolic act of leaving the past behind. Next, she goes to a department store. She carefully chooses 2 blouses and a pair of dress pants. She looks at the price tags, still with the mindset of someone who needs to save every penny, but for the first time, she doesn't feel the panic of scarcity. She pays with the corporate card, a gesture that fills her with a new, powerful sense of dignity. After shopping, it was finally time to go home. Leah is sitting on the bus, looking out the window as the city passes by. She is no longer tired. She is energized, alive. On her lap, the shopping bags. She takes the Nexus Tech card out of her purse and stares at it, a genuine smile lighting up her face. A single tear of happiness rolls down her cheek.
The journey back is not one of exhaustion, but of triumph. The apartment is small, simple, but neatly kept. In the small living room, her mother, Anna, 50s, a woman with a kind face marked by worry, is sitting, mending a piece of clothing. Leah enters. Anna stands up immediately, concern on her face seeing her daughter arrive so late. "My daughter, where have you been? I was so worried. And those bags?" Her eyes notice the shopping and her face falls. She thinks Leah spent money she didn't have. Leah gives the biggest smile her mother has ever seen. She puts the bags on the floor and from her purse pulls out the hiring form from Nexus Tech. "Mom, I got it!" Anna takes the paper, her eyes scanning the words. Junior market analyst. Salary. Her hands start to shake. She looks up at Leah, her eyes filled with tears of disbelief and pride. "Oh, my daughter! Oh, my God!" The two embrace tightly, crying together, a cry that washes away years of struggle and uncertainty. After the initial emotion passes, they sit on the couch. Anna, still beaming, holds her daughter's hands. But how? The interview for the sales clerk position, did it go well? Leah takes a deep breath, excitement in her voice. "No, Mom, I didn't go to that interview." "What do you mean you didn't go? Leah, that was a sure thing." "I know, but something happened. Something incredible. I helped a man today, and he gave me a tip about a job at Nexus Tech. An analyst position, Mom, in my field. I couldn't let it pass. It was risky. I had to walk across the city, but I felt like I needed to fight for something bigger than a clerk job." The pride on Anna's face intensifies as she hears about her daughter's courage. "And the strangest thing of all, Mom? The referral he gave me was to use the name Ethan. But the man I helped, the one who gave me the tip, he told me his name was Alex." The scene ends with Leah and her mother looking at each other, the joy of the achievement now mixed with a fascinating veil of mystery. The question hangs in the air, a perfect hook for what's to come. The first day of a new job is like the first day of a new life.
For Leah, it was the chance to rewrite her story, to trade uncertainty for stability, fear for hope. She entered Nexus Tech no longer as a barefoot pilgrim, but as a professional ready to prove her worth. Meanwhile, on the upper floors, Ethan Miller felt an anxiety that no board meeting had ever caused him. He had opened the door for her, but in doing so, he had locked himself in a gilded cage of his own making, forced to watch from afar the woman he couldn't get out of his head. The 12th floor is an open, modern, and vibrant workspace. It doesn't have the oppressive silence of the lobby, but the energy of minds at work. Dozens of desks are arranged in islands, with plants and break areas. Leah, wearing one of her new outfits, is guided by her new manager to a desk near a large window. Her manager introduces her to the team, and she is greeted with friendly smiles. She sits in her chair, turning on the state-of-the-art computer, feeling a wave of imposter syndrome. Did she really belong here? But as soon as she receives her first tasks, analyzing a series of market data, the anxiety gives way to focus. She dives into the work, her sharp mind finding patterns and insights. In a few hours, she is no longer the scared newcomer, but a competent analyst in her element. A few days have passed. Leah is already more at ease, chatting with a colleague while waiting for the elevator to go down for lunch. She gets into the elevator, continuing her conversation. The brushed steel doors are almost closed when a hand stops them.
Ethan gets in. His expensive cologne fills the space before she even sees him. Their eyes meet. The world around them stops. Leah's conversation dies in her throat. The shock of recognition is mutual and electric. Alex! Leah! Hi! The other occupants of the elevator feel the tension and discreetly focus on their phones. I can't believe it. I wanted to thank you. It worked out. I got the job. I heard. I was so happy for you. I knew you would. But what do you do here? I haven't seen you since that day. The question he had been dreading and expecting. His brain goes into a tailspin. The truth is impossible. The memory of his ex-fiancée, Isabella, laughing calculatingly, flashes in his mind like a warning. The fear of being seen as a target, as a prize, forces him to dig deeper into the lie. Oh, I'm an advisor to the CEO. I work directly with Mr. Miller. My office is on the upper floors. That's why we don't cross paths much. The lie is perfect, plausible. To Leah, all the pieces fall into place logically and satisfactorily. The powerful referral, the turnaround at reception, and the advance from the director. It all made sense now. Wow, so that's why. Thank you so much. Again, you really changed my life. The sincerity and pure gratitude on her face are like a stab in Ethan's chest. He just smiles, guilt weighing on his conscience. The elevator doors open on the ground floor. See you, Leah. See you, Alex. They part ways. Leah goes to lunch with a light heart, happy to have found her guardian angel. Ethan watches her go, feeling like the worst kind of fraud. With that lie, he had woven the first thread of a web that he feared would eventually trap them both. The days went by, and the unplanned encounters became more frequent. One day, Ethan is getting a coffee when he sees Leah at a table, laughing at something a colleague said. She looks happy, integrated. He feels a pang of jealousy and an overwhelming desire to be the one making her laugh like that. He retreats into the shadows, watching from a distance. Another time, Leah is in a low-level meeting in a glass-walled room presenting the results of her first analysis. She is articulate, intelligent, and confident. Ethan is passing by in the hallway on his way to a board meeting. He stops for a moment, hidden from her line of sight, and watches her. An immense pride fills him, but it's a pride he cannot express. On another day, from the height of his office, through the glass wall, Ethan watches nightfall over the city. Down below, he spots a solitary figure walking toward the bus stop. It's Leah. He thinks of his driver, David.
waiting for him in the garage, in the comfort of his luxury car. The urge to go down, stop beside her, and say, "I'll give you a ride home," is almost unbearable. But Alex, the simple advisor, couldn't do that. And so he just watches her disappear into the crowd, the distance between their worlds never so visible and painful. Weeks turned into months. For Leah, life at Nexus Tech was a dream come true. She was good at her job, respected by her colleagues, and with each paycheck, the tightrope of financial worry at her home loosened a little more. For Ethan, watching her success from afar was a source of immense pride and guilt. His double life continued, the ruthless CEO in his ivory tower, and Alex, the friendly advisor who lived for the brief, stolen moments when his path crossed with Leah's.
One day, in the modern and bustling coffee shop across the street from Nexus Tech, the smell of espresso and croissants hangs in the air. It's the morning meeting spot for junior and mid-level employees. Leah is in line, looking at the menu, trying to decide on the cheapest coffee. She hears a familiar voice behind her. "If I may make a suggestion, their cappuccino is surprisingly good." Leah turns and breaks into a smile when she sees Alex. "Alex, hi, good morning." "Noted, but today I think I'll stick with black coffee. I need a reality check." They get to the counter. Before Leah can order, Ethan steps forward. "2 cappuccinos, please, and the best croissant you have." He looks at Leah, anticipating her protest. "It's the least I can do. Consider it a continuing thank you." They sit at a small table near the window while they wait. "So, how's life in the shadow of the big boss? Has Mr. Miller shown up yet, or is he still a legend?" Ethan laughs, a sound a little more tense than he'd like. He remains private, but he's always watching, make no mistake. He looks at her. The curiosity in his voice is genuine. "But what about you? Are you enjoying it? Are they treating you well?" "I'm loving it. It's challenging, it's smart, it's everything I dreamed of. And yes, everyone is great." She pauses, her smile becoming softer. "Thanks to you." The barista calls his name. The moment is broken. They get their coffees and say goodbye at the door of the coffee shop, each heading to a different side of the street toward the same building. Leah walks away feeling warm, not just from the cappuccino, but from his kindness. Ethan watches her go, feeling like an imposter, but a happy imposter for having made her smile. With each encounter, the lie became harder and the desire to be with her stronger. After a few days, in a small square with benches and a few trees, a haven of tranquility amidst the hustle and bustle of the city center, several employees from nearby offices are having lunch there. Leah is sitting on a more secluded bench, eating a sandwich she brought from home and reading a book. She is completely immersed in the story. Across the street, inside a luxury restaurant, Ethan is sitting with 2 investors. He barely hears what they're saying. His eyes are fixed on the solitary figure of Leah on the bench. He sees the peace on her face, the way she's absorbed in the book. At that moment, the multi-million-dollar meeting seems trivial. Discreetly, he takes his phone out under the table and sends a message to his assistant. "Family emergency. Apologize and reschedule." He apologizes to the investors, lies about a sudden problem, and leaves the restaurant. He crosses the street and approaches her. "Is that a good book?" Leah is startled, but smiles when she sees him. "Alex, hi. It is one of my favorites." He sits down next to her. They don't talk about work. They talk about the book, about other books, about dreams, about the little things that make up a life. He discovers her passion for data analysis, how she sees stories in numbers. She discovers a side of him that is surprisingly deep and a little melancholy. For an hour, they are not coworkers, they are just 2 people connecting on a level that scares them both. Leah's phone alarm goes off, signaling the end of lunch. Recess is over. Already?
The disappointment in his voice is genuine. The time flew by too fast. They get up and walk back to the building in a comfortable silence. That unplanned lunch changed something. The casual friendship was deepening, becoming something more intense, more dangerous. At the end of the day, the main elevator is packed with tired employees, anxious to go home. Leah manages to find a space in the back of the elevator. As the doors are about to close, Ethan gets in at the last second. The movement of the crowd adjusting for the new passenger pushes Leah forward until she finds herself inevitably standing very close and face to face with him. They are face to face, at a distance so small it would be rude not to look at each other, but too intimate to be comfortable. The air around them suddenly becomes heavy, charged with a palpable electricity. The chatter of the other employees seems distant. For an instant, they try to look away, embarrassed. Leah looks at the elevator buttons. Ethan stares at the floor. But it's useless. Their eyes meet. The camera focuses on what they see. Leah notices a small, almost imperceptible scar above his eyebrow. Ethan notices the exact color of her eyes, a brown that seems lighter under the artificial light. They barely breathe. Leah feels her face flush, aware that he can feel her breath. Ethan clenches his jaw, fighting the overwhelming urge to close the small distance remaining between their faces. The desire is a wave of heat that rises in both of them, an undeniable and terrifying truth in that confined space. The elevator reaches the ground floor with a ding that sounds like an alarm, breaking the spell. The doors open and the crowd moves, forcing them apart. The space between them is restored, but the tension remains. They exit into the lobby, avoiding looking at each other again. "Bye, Alex." "Bye, Leah." They turn and walk in opposite directions, both with their hearts hammering in their chests. The accidental contact had turned into a moment of silent revelation. It was no longer just friendship. It was something deeper, more complicated, and infinitely more dangerous for Ethan's secret. After the elevator encounter, the air between Leah and Alex changed. The casual meetings in the hallways, once sources of simple joy, were now charged with an awkward tension and a mutual awareness of what had passed between them in that brief moment. The easy friendship gave way to a shyness that neither knew how to navigate. They began to avoid the places where they might meet, afraid of that uncontrollable electricity. But Ethan knew that running away was not an option. That moment of desire in the elevator hadn't scared him. On the contrary, it made him realize he was tired of hiding, tired of relying on luck. The coffee shop is quieter than in the morning. The golden late afternoon light streams through the windows, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. Leah is sitting at a corner table, alone, with a cup of tea and a notebook where she is doodling distractedly. It's her moment to decompress after a long day of work. The bell in the door chimes. Ethan enters. He stops for a moment, his eyes scanning the place until he finds her. She hasn't seen him yet. Unlike the other times, there is no hesitation in his steps. He walks directly to her table with a calm determination. "Hi, Leah."
Hi. Alex. Hi. I didn't expect to see you here at this hour.
"Me neither." He pauses. His eyes are serious, direct. "Actually, that's not true. I was hoping to find you." Her sincerity catches her by surprise. The shyness gives way to curiosity.
Oh, really? And why is that?
He pulls the chair in front of him, but doesn't sit, remaining standing. "Leah, I know we only see each other by chance, in coffee lines, hallways, and crowded elevators, and I'm tired of relying on luck."
He looks at her, and for the first time, she doesn't see the friendly advisor, but a man with an intensity that leaves her breathless. I really enjoy talking to you. I like our stolen moments, but I wanted more than that. I would love to take you to dinner, a real dinner, outside the chaos of the workday, just the two of us. He pauses, his vulnerability exposed. What do you think? The invitation hangs in the air. Leah's heart beats faster. A logical part of her mind warns her that she barely knows this man, that there's a mystery surrounding him. But her heart, which felt so connected to him in the park and so drawn to him in the elevator, already knows the answer. A slow, genuine smile full of anticipation forms on her lips. I'd love that, Alex. The relief and joy on Ethan's face are instantaneous. Great! He smiles, taking out his phone. In that case, I think I'm finally going to need your number. They exchange phone numbers, a simple act that solidifies the transition from colleagues to something more. He says goodbye and leaves the coffee shop, leaving Leah behind with slightly trembling hands and a smile she can't contain. The door to a real romance had been opened. But for Ethan, it was also the door to a much greater danger. The closer he got to her, the harder it would be to maintain his lie. The following weeks were a blur of happiness for Leah. But for Ethan, every moment with her was a glimpse of paradise and a form of torture, as he knew the new life he was building in this city was, in part, an escape from his past, and the annual Nexus Tech party would be the perfect stage for the reunion he dreaded most. On the night of the party, still in her apartment, Leah looks at herself in the mirror of her small bedroom. She's wearing a dark blue dress, the most expensive piece of clothing she has ever bought. It's simple, elegant, and makes her feel powerful. Her mother, Anna, watches her from the doorway, her eyes shining with pride. "You look beautiful, my daughter. A real executive." "I'm so nervous, Mom. Everyone's going to be there." "And you deserve to be there as much as any of them. Now go. And if you see your Alex, tell him Leah's mom says hi to her daughter's guardian angel." They laugh. Her mother's encouragement gives Leah the confidence she needed. She kisses Anna and leaves, ready to face the night. The ballroom is stunning and opulent, a sea of expensive suits and designer dresses. The music is sophisticated, and the sound of clinking champagne glasses fills the air. Leah enters and feels a little intimidated by the grandeur of it all. Across the room, Ethan is in a forced conversation with a group of directors. His eyes scan the entrance, looking for her. And then he sees her. The world around him disappears. The conversation, the music, everything dissolves into a distant hum. Leah isn't the most extravagantly dressed woman in the room, but to him, she's the only one who shines. He mutters a hasty excuse, leaving the directors confused, and crosses the room, his eyes fixed on hers. "Leah, wow, you don't look so bad yourself for an overworked advisor." Ethan and Leah are in their own bubble, laughing and talking near the balcony, with the city sparkling below them. The chemistry between them is so obvious it draws stares. They spend the night together, inseparable. But Ethan is on high alert. He sees from a distance a vice president approaching with the determined expression of someone who needs to speak with the boss.
Before the man gets close enough to speak, Ethan leans into Leah. Ethan, his voice sounding casual. "Wow, the music's really loud in here. Let's get some fresh air on the balcony." He places a hand gently on her back and guides her outside, leaving the VP standing, confused, in the middle of the room. To Leah, it just seemed like a romantic gesture. Later, they are dancing to a slow song. The proximity is intoxicating. Another executive, Mark, approaches and taps Ethan on the shoulder. Ethan, without missing a beat, turns his head minimally, maintaining eye contact with Leah. "Ethan, Later, Mark. Mark gets the message and backs away immediately. To Leah, it just seemed like a quick greeting between colleagues. But a pattern is starting to form in her mind. The way people approach him, not like a colleague, but with deference, an almost fearful respect. The way he dismisses them with an ease and authority that don't fit a simple advisor. They stop dancing to get a drink. Leah watches him, a curious smile on her lips. "You're pretty popular, huh? Seems like everyone wants a minute with the CEO's advisor." The question is light, playful, but her eyes are serious, inquisitive. "Speaking of which, you know what's funny? I've been here for months and I still don't know what our boss looks like. He never shows up, never gives a speech. It's like he's a ghost." Her innocent question hits Ethan like a punch. He becomes visibly tense. He's a very private guy, prefers to let the company's work speak for itself. But he knows everything that goes on, believe me. He quickly changes the subject, but the seed of suspicion has definitely been planted in Leah's mind. The party is in full swing. Ethan and Leah are in a quieter corner laughing at a joke he told. The moment is intimate, perfect. Suddenly, the large double doors of the ballroom swing open. A momentary silence spreads through the area near the entrance. Isabella enters. She didn't just arrive, she made an entrance. She is wearing a stunning red dress. She wasn't on the guest list, but no one would dare stop her. Ethan feels the shift in the room's atmosphere. He turns, and his blood runs cold. His eyes meet Isabella's from across the room. Her smile is slow, predatory. It's a smile that says, "Did you think you could run from me?" Ethan's face transforms, happiness giving way to a mask of coldness and worry. Leah, noticing the change in him, "Alex, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Isabella's gaze shifts from Ethan and lands on Leah. She looks her up and down, but with an interrogating expression. She doesn't attack her with her eyes, but studies her. Who is this unknown piece on the board? With calculated elegance, Isabella ignores Ethan for now and glides through the room. Her eyes scan the crowd until she finds her target, a gossipy marketing manager named Camila. Isabella. "Camila, darling, what a pleasant surprise. I see Ethan is entertained tonight." Camila. "Isabella, what a surprise. Yes, he seems quite happy." Isabella. "And who is his companion? Someone new. I don't remember her from our circle." Camila. "Oh, that's Leah, the new analyst from the 12th floor. A real talent, they say. Ethan himself recommended her. Can you believe it? She arrived a few months ago and is already making a name for herself." Isabella absorbs the information. Leah, 12th floor. Recommended by Ethan. The missing pieces of the puzzle now have a name and a place. Her smile widens, now genuinely cruel. "Interesting. Very interesting. Excuse me, darling." She dismisses Camila with a wave and moves away, finding a more discreet spot with a view of the couple. Now, with the name and position of her prey, Isabella takes out her cell phone. Her thumbs move with deadly speed across the screen. "I need everything on an analyst from the 12th floor. Name, Leah. I need it yesterday." Ethan's past hadn't just knocked on his door, it had kicked it down and walked into the middle of his party. Isabella's unexpected arrival was a declaration of war, and Leah, after being duly identified, had just become the main target. The hunt had officially begun. The weekend following the party was torture for Ethan. The image of Isabella, with her predatory smile, haunted his thoughts. He knew her appearance had not been a coincidence. It was a message. And on Monday morning, the meaning of that message would become brutally clear. As Leah arrived at work with a light heart, excited about her new projects, Ethan braced for a storm, knowing his glass fortress was about to be invaded. Ethan is in his 15th floor office, reviewing reports at his desk. He looks tired, the tension visible in his shoulders. The peace he had found in this city seemed to have evaporated. The intercom on his desk buzzes. It's his assistant's voice, and there's a note of confusion in it. "Mr. Miller, Miss Vance is here. She says she has a meeting with you." Ethan freezes. He didn't schedule any meeting. He knows it's her. "Let her in." The door opens and Isabella enters. She's not wearing a party dress, but an impeccable designer suit, the picture of corporate power. Her smile is cold and professional. "Ethan, I hope I'm not interrupting." Ethan: "Isabella, what a surprise. I thought you'd be back in New York by now." "Oh, there was a change of plans. Dad and I talked over the weekend, and we decided that an expansion as crucial as this one needs a more familiar supervision." She stops in front of his desk and places an official document on it. "As of today, I will be serving as the Director of Strategic Operations at this branch. My transfer was approved by the board this morning." Ethan looks at the document and then at her. It's a checkmate. She's not asking for permission, she's stating a fact. Fighting it would mean starting a corporate war with her father, the man who co-founded the company with his own father. He's trapped. Ethan, his voice icy: "Welcome to the team, Isabella." Isabella, a victorious smile: "Thank you. I can't wait to get started and to get to know your team better. All of them." The emphasis on the word all is a veiled threat. She turns and leaves, leaving Ethan alone in his office, which suddenly feels like a cage. He sits down heavily in his chair, staring at the document as if it were a sentence. The invasion had begun, and the enemy was now inside the walls. Isabella doesn't take long to start her venomous plan. Leah is in the break room, getting water. She's talking animatedly with a colleague about a project they're working on. She's happy, confident. Isabella enters the break room, moving with a natural authority. All the employees fall silent or lower their voices. Leah, with her back turned, doesn't notice the change in the atmosphere.
As she turns around, she bumps into Isabella, spilling a little water on her own blouse.
"Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so clumsy."
Isabella looks at Leah's wet blouse with restrained contempt before forcing a smile.
"Don't worry. It happens."
Her gaze rises and meets Leah's.
"You're Leah, aren't you? The new analyst? I've heard about you."
Leah is surprised that such an important woman knows her name.
"Yes, that's me. And you are?"
Isabella, her smile widens, savoring the moment.
Isabella Vance. I just transferred from New York. I'll be overseeing strategic operations, including your departments. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other."
Isabella gives her one last look up and down and leaves the break room, leaving a trail of silence and intimidation. Leah stands there, the water forgotten in her hand, feeling an inexplicable chill. The woman who had stared at her with hatred at the party was now, effectively, one of her bosses. The threat had gained a face, a name, and a position of power. At the end of the day, Ethan is standing, looking out the window, the city lighting up as night falls. The document of Isabella's transfer is still on his desk, like a ticking bomb. For the first time in his career, Ethan Miller felt powerless. He was the CEO, the king of this castle, but a king in check. He knew that Isabella's presence had nothing to do with business. It had to do with Leah. He couldn't just fire her without risking a war with her father, a war that could split the company he swore to protect. And above all, he couldn't warn Leah about the danger she was in without revealing his entire web of lies, which would destroy her trust forever. He was trapped between duty and desire, between his past and his future. He knew that Isabella would start making Leah's life difficult, testing her, provoking her, and he would have to watch from afar, unable to do anything unless he risked losing everything. The question was no longer if the bomb would explode, but when. The following days, Isabella's attacks weren't overt. They were subtle, venomous, and perfectly disguised as corporate rigor, making it impossible for Leah to complain without seeming weak or incompetent. It was a campaign of psychological harassment executed with surgical precision. It's Thursday afternoon. Isabella walks into the 12th floor office and stops in front of Leah's desk, placing a stack of folders on it.
Isabella, with a professional smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Leah, I trust your ability to handle a challenge. I need a complete cross-referenced analysis of all these market reports. On my desk, Friday before lunch.
Leah's colleague at the next desk's eyes widen. That's a week's worth of work, at least. Leah looks at the pile, then at Isabella, and just nods.
Yes, Miss Vance.
Later, Leah is in a glass-walled meeting room presenting the results of a project to a team of managers. Isabella enters and sits in the back. In the middle of the presentation, she interrupts her.
With all due respect, Leah, but your analysis seems superficial. Did you consider the macroeconomic projections for East Asia? Go back to your desk and redo it. We want a complete job, not a draft.
She gets up and leaves, leaving Leah paralyzed with shame in front of everyone. It's nighttime. The floor is dark and silent. Only the light from Leah's desk is on. She's surrounded by empty coffee cups, her eyes burning with exhaustion. On the 15th floor, Ethan watches the security camera footage on his computer. He sees Leah's solitary light on the floor below. He sees her silhouette hunched over her desk. He clenches his fist so tightly that his knuckles turn white, a helpless rage burning inside him.
He can't just watch anymore. He stands up, resolute, and gets in the elevator. The private elevator makes a soft ding, a sound that echoes in the silence. Leah, startled, looks up. Ethan, Alex, gets out of the elevator. He had made up an excuse for himself, but seeing her there, so exhausted, the excuse dies on his lips. Leah, surprised, her voice tired. Alex, what are you doing here at this hour? I forgot some papers. The lie sounds weak even to him. He approaches her desk. What are you doing here? Leah points to the stack of folders with a sigh. Miss Vance needs this for tomorrow. It's a challenge. He looks at the mountain of work and guilt hits him hard. He knows this is because of him. Ethan, his voice low, full of a rage he tries to hide. Isabella can be demanding. This isn't fair to you, Leah. He pulls a chair from an empty desk and sits next to her. What do you need to do? 4 eyes are better than 2. Leah stares at him, shocked by the offer. No, absolutely not. You need to go home, rest. I'm not going anywhere while you're here. At least let me keep you company. I can get you a coffee. He gets up and goes to the break room, returning with 2 cups of fresh coffee. He doesn't help her with the work, but he stays there, in silence, reading one of the reports, just so she doesn't feel alone. His presence is a source of silent strength. After an hour, Leah stretches, her eyes heavy. Thank you, Alex. Really, just having you here, it helps a lot. She looks at him, curiosity overcoming her fatigue. Why are you so good to me? The direct question catches him by surprise. He looks at her, the monitor's light reflecting in his eyes, and the desire to tell her everything is almost unbearable. Because good people deserve to have good things happen to them. And you're one of the best people I've ever met. He stands up, knowing he needs to leave before he says too much.
Finish that chapter and go home, Leah. No spreadsheet is worth your health. He leaves, leaving her with a warm heart and an even more confused mind. Alex's kindness was a beacon in Isabella's storm, but also a mystery that deepened with each encounter. Weeks passed. Leah is visibly thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. She's in the break room, just filling her water bottle, trying to have a minute of peace. Isabella enters. This time, no one is around. She drops the professional facade, and her tone is purely venomous. You know, Leah, I almost admire your persistence. It's like watching a little mouse on a wheel, running and running, without ever getting anywhere. Leah ignores her, closing her water bottle. Excuse me, Miss Vance. She tries to leave, but Isabella blocks her path. Where do you think you're going? I'm not finished. I just want you to understand that no matter how much you run, no matter how late you work, you will never belong in this world. You were a mistake, a summer fling for Ethan, and now summer's over. Leah, her voice firm, looking her in the eye for the first time. My work here has nothing to do with Ethan, and I'm not going anywhere. Isabella laughs, a cruel sound. Oh, sweetie, you don't get it, do you? You are only here because of him. The main elevator doors open. Ethan gets out talking to a colleague, but stops immediately when he sees the scene.
The tension between the two women is palpable. The humiliation on Leah's face is the last straw for him. Ethan, his voice is low, but it cuts through the air like a blade, filled with an authority no one there had ever heard from the advisor. Isabella, what's going on here? All the employees passing by shrink back, shocked. The CEO's advisor was openly confronting the director of operations. Leah stares at him, a mixture of surprise, relief, and growing confusion. Isabella turns livid with rage at the interruption. Before she can finish his name and expose everything, Ethan takes a step forward, invades her personal space, and grabs her firmly by the arm. His touch isn't violent, but it's non-negotiable. The mask of Alex has completely fallen, revealing the CEO underneath. To my office now. He pulls her, walking past an astonished Leah without even looking at her, and drags her toward the private elevator, leaving the entire floor in a shocked silence. The question now hangs in the air, visible on everyone's face, especially Leah's. Who the hell was that man? The moment Ethan grabbed Isabella's arm, the fragile disguise of Alex disintegrated. For the employees on the 12th floor, what remained was a shocked silence, followed by a wave of whispers. They hadn't witnessed a squabble between colleagues, but a display of pure, absolute power. And for Leah, the world turned upside down once again. Gratitude for his defense mixed with a dizzying confusion. The kind, supportive man who had kept her company the night before was the same man now dragging a company director as if she were nothing. The question was no longer a vague mystery. It was an urgent and frightening question. Who are you? Ethan shoves Isabella into the first empty meeting room and closes the door with a dull thud that seals off the outside world. The room is sterile, with a long conference table and frosted glass walls that distort the view of the office. They are alone on their private battlefield. He lets her go, disgust visible on his face. Isabella rubs her arm, not from pain, but from indignation. Are you insane? What do you think you're doing to her? What is your problem? What do I have against her? What do you have with her? I saw you at the party, Ethan. I saw the way you look at her. Do you think I'm blind? Dumping me, your fiancé, for this charity case who has nothing to her name? The word fiancé hangs in the air like poison. You were never my fiancé, Isabella. His voice rises for the first time. That was a ridiculous business arrangement from your father to merge the companies, and you know it.
A contract I came to this city to void. It's been over for more than a year. Leave Leah out of your sick games." Hearing the final absolute rejection, Isabella's strategy changes. The anger dissolves, replaced with a tactic she had mastered since childhood: manipulative pleading. Her shoulders slump, her eyes fill with crocodile tears, her voice becomes soft and supplicating. "It wasn't just business for me, Eth. I miss you. I love you." She takes a step toward him. "We belong together, our families, our world. This girl is just a distraction, a mistake. She doesn't understand you like I do. Come back to me. We can be what we were always meant to be." Ethan looks at her, but he doesn't see the vulnerable woman she's trying to project. He sees the ghost of countless arguments, the same performance she used with her father to get a new car, a trip to Europe, a position in the company. He knew this play by heart, and the show had lost all its power over him. He doesn't respond to her plea, he just stares at her, and the expression on his face is a complex mix of anger at her cruelty, pity for her superficiality, and a deep revulsion for the person she has become. He takes a step back, creating a final distance between them. "It's over, Isabella. For real this time." He turns and leaves the room, leaving her alone with her fake tears and her defeat. The war between them was over for him, but he knew that out there, in the hallway, a much more difficult battle awaited him, trying to explain the truth to Leah. Ethan left the meeting room, leaving the ruins of his past with Isabella behind him. But as he stepped into the hallway, he entered a new battlefield. The heavy silence of the office, the furtive glances of his employees were all a prelude to the real confrontation. There, standing near her desk, was Leah. Her face held no anger, but something much worse, a deep, painful confusion that looked at him as if he were a complete stranger. The hardest battle hadn't been with Isabella. It would be with the woman he loved. Time seems to have frozen on the 12th floor. Everyone is at their desks, pretending to work, but the silence is thick. No one types, no one speaks. All eyes are on the scene about to unfold. Leah is standing, her arms crossed, not as a gesture of anger, but of self-protection. Ethan walks slowly toward her. There's nowhere to run. Each step feels like it weighs a ton. He stops at a respectful distance. The powerful man who had just put a director in her place now seems uncertain, vulnerable. Leah. Leah cuts him off. Her voice is low, trembling, but filled with an urgent need for answers. "Alex, or whoever you are, what was that? You're not an advisor, are you? The way you spoke to her, the way everyone here stopped breathing when you showed up. Who are you?" Ethan feels the weight of the truth on his shoulders, a truth he's desperate to tell, but terrified of the consequences. He opts for the middle ground, a futile attempt to patch up the lie instead of abandoning it. He opts for the middle ground, a futile attempt to patch up the lie. "Ethan, my name is Alex. What you saw, it's an old, complicated situation. Isabella and I have a history, and Mr. Miller gave me a certain authority to handle matters that involve her directly. It's delicate because she's the partner's daughter." The explanation is weak, and they both know it. Leah's face fills with skepticism. "Authority? You treated her like you owned this entire building. And she called you—" Leah hesitates, the memory of the fragmented name returning. "She was going to call you Ethan." The name hangs between them. His lie is unraveling thread by thread. "It's my middle name, a name she uses to provoke me. Leah, please, I know this is all confusing, but you have to trust me." The plea to trust me
coming from a man she now knows is hiding something immense, is the last straw. The trust she had in him shatters. Leah's face hardens. The confusion gives way to a cold, protective coldness. Trust you? How can I? She looks around, at the luxurious office, at his expensive clothes, at the memory of Isabella's intimidating beauty. A woman like her, rich, powerful, who calls you her fiancé. And me? I don't understand in what world the two of us could exist, Alex. And I'm starting to think that world isn't real. Without waiting for an answer, Leah turns and sits at her desk, turning on her computer monitor. It's a gesture of dismissal, not from the job, but from the conversation, from him. She creates a physical and emotional barrier, a wall he doesn't know how to cross.
Ethan stands there for a moment, completely defeated. He knows he has failed. He knows his half-truth was more damaging than silence. He looks at her back, wanting to say more, wanting to scream the truth, but the words don't come. Under the gaze of dozens of employees, the most powerful man in the room turns and walks away, looking smaller than ever. Leah stares at the blank computer screen for a while. Her mind is racing, replaying every moment. The lost man in the park, the tip about the job, the Ethan reference, the Alex advisor, the CEO-like authority. The pieces didn't fit. The man who had been her guardian angel was now the center of her deepest distrust. The mystery was no longer romantic. Now it was just painful. What followed the confrontation was not a storm, but an ice age. The 12th floor, once a place of energy and collaboration, became a territory of silent tension. Leah moved through it like a ghost, her inner light dimmed by mistrust. Ethan, in turn, found that all his powers as CEO were useless in rebuilding the only bridge that mattered to him. And watching everything from her new perch, Isabella realized that brute force wouldn't work. To destroy what was between them, she would need a more refined, more cruel strategy. She would need to turn Ethan's own kindness into a weapon against him. In the days following the incident, Leah and Ethan's routine changed completely. At one point, Leah is waiting for the elevator. She sees Ethan approaching from a distance down the hall. Without hesitation, she turns and heads for the emergency stairs, preferring to walk down 12 flights than to spend 30 seconds in the same space as him. Another time, Leah eats lunch at her desk, headphones firmly in her ears, even though no music is playing. It's a clear barrier to the world. Across the floor, Ethan watches her from a glass-walled meeting room, his heart aching. At another moment, an impatient Ethan grabs his cell phone. He types a message. Ethan's text. "Leah, can we talk? Please. I miss you." The message is sent. We see the notification appear on the locked screen of Leah's phone, which is face down on her desk. She sees the light come on, but makes no move to pick up the device. The message sits there, read but unanswered. Isabella's new office is the opposite of Ethan's. While his is classic and understated, hers is ultra-modern with steel accents and aggressive artwork. She isn't angry. She's cold, focused, like a general planning her next battle. She is on a video call with her father, Arthur Vance, 60s, a man with a hard face and eyes that revealed nothing. Isabella. "The pressure plan didn't work, Dad. It only made him more protective of her. We need a different approach, something definitive." Arthur, on screen. "The merger agreement needs to be fulfilled, Isabella. The shareholders are waiting. I don't care about Ethan's romantic dramas. Do whatever it takes to bring him back to his senses. Fix this." The call ends. Isabella leans back in her chair. "Fix this," she whispers to herself. She opens a file on her computer.
It's the complete report from her investigation into Leah. She reads about the sick mother, the financial difficulties, the long walk to the company, and stops at the description of the initial encounter at the bakery. A slow, wicked smile forms on her lips. She finally sees the way. The problem wasn't Ethan's lie. The problem was that deep down, his story was noble. A millionaire helping the poor girl who saved him. To destroy Leah, she needed to destroy that narrative. She needed to reframe the story, turning Ethan's act of kindness into a cruel game of manipulation, and make Leah discover it in the most humiliating way possible.
She closes the file with a satisfying click. The weapon had been found. Now she just needed to wait for the perfect moment to strike. The moment when their happiness was at its peak, so that the fall would be even greater. For now, she would just watch and wait. At the end of the day, Leah leaves the building, exhausted. The weight of mistrust and Isabella's silent harassment is draining her. She just wants to go home. Ethan is waiting for her near the exit. He looks as tired as she does. This time, he intercepts her before she can walk away. "Ethan, Leah, please, don't run." She stops, but doesn't look at him. "We have nothing to talk about." Ethan, his voice filled with genuine desperation. "We have everything to talk about. I know I messed up. I know I scared you and that I wasn't honest. But what we have between us, before all this madness, it was real, at least for me." He takes a step closer. "Please, give me a chance to explain everything. One dinner, that's all I ask. If after that you still want me to disappear from your life, I swear I will." Leah finally looks at him. She sees the pain in his eyes, a pain that mirrors her own. Her mind tells her to leave, to protect herself. But her stubborn heart still remembers the man who sat with her in the park and talked about books, the man who kept her company in the dark office. Against her better judgment, a part of her still needed answers. Leah, after a long pause, her voice almost a whisper. "One dinner, Alex, to hear your explanation. That's it." An immense relief floods Ethan's face. "Thank you. Tomorrow night?" She nods and walks away before she can change her mind. Ethan watches her go, feeling a small flame of hope. He would finally get the chance to fix things. Their future now depended on a single dinner. The next night, Ethan chose the place carefully. It wasn't an oppressive luxury restaurant, but a charming and discreet bistro, with candlelight and an intimate atmosphere. A place where he could be Alex, not Mr. Miller. Leah arrives, visibly nervous but elegant in a simple dress. They sit down. The initial silence is heavy, awkward. The waiter approaches. They order something from the menu without even looking at it. The food doesn't matter. As soon as the waiter leaves, Ethan looks at her, the pain and regret etched on his face. "Leah, I don't even know where to begin. I'm sorry. For the confusion, for the fear I made you feel. I never wanted to put you in the middle of any of this." And then he begins to explain. He tells her the truth, or at least the part of the truth he can tell. He talks about the engagement with Isabella, explaining that it was a business arrangement between their families, a contract he despised and was trying to escape by moving to the new city. He describes her controlling and possessive personality and his fear that any woman who got close to him would be seen by Isabella as a threat. "The authority you saw me use with her is not something I have with anyone else. It's a toxic and old dynamic. Mr. Miller gave me free rein to deal with her because he knows how destructive she can be. I'm not her boss, but I'm the only person in the company she sometimes listens to." It was a web of half-truths, skillfully woven around a core of genuine emotion. And it was the emotion that Leah listened to. She didn't hear the logical inconsistencies, but the vulnerability in his voice, the frustration of being trapped in a past that wasn't his. She saw the Alex who helped her, who made her laugh, who kept her company. So, you were never engaged to her. For real. Never. Not for a second in my heart. The barrier between them begins to crumble. The coldness in Leah's eyes gives way to empathy. She hates you because you ended things. And now, she hates me because she thinks I'm with you. And I put you in that crossfire. That's why I feel so guilty. The food arrives, but they barely touch it. The conversation continues, and the connection between them is rekindled, stronger than before, now forged in confidence. After dinner, he takes her home in the same discreet sedan borrowed from David. The night is silent. He walks her to the door. Thank you for telling me all this, Alex. Thank you for listening. They look at each other. The tension of mistrust is gone, replaced by the tension of rediscovered attraction. This time, it's Leah who takes the initiative. She leans in and kisses him. It's a soft kiss, a kiss of forgiveness, of reconciliation, a kiss that says, I choose to believe you. When they part, they are both smiling. Hope is back. Good night, Alex. Good night, Leah. She goes inside, and he watches her go, his heart full of relief and love. He did it. He won her back. But he knows he won her back while still under a lie, the biggest one of all. A few minutes later, Leah is in her room getting ready for bed. She touches her lips, remembering the kiss. A goofy, happy smile is on her face. She decides to trust him. She is falling in love. Ethan is in his car driving home. He is radiant. He knows he needs to tell the whole truth, but now he feels he can. He feels their love is strong enough to overcome even that. Tomorrow, he thinks, tomorrow I'll create the perfect opportunity and tell her everything. Meanwhile, Isabella is in her dark office, the only light coming from her computer screen. On the screen, a photo taken by a private investigator that night, showing Leah and Ethan kissing at her apartment door. Isabella's face is a mask of cold hatred. Their reconciliation was the trigger she had been waiting for. She picks up the phone. Isabella, on the phone. Yes, the plan is a go. Schedule the meeting for 10 in the morning. Topic, surprise performance review. And confirm Mr. Miller's attendance for 10:30. Tell him it's non-negotiable. Ethan and Leah's night ended with the promise of a new beginning. But for Isabella, it ended with the confirmation of an end. The final plan was in motion, and the couple's newfound happiness had a date and time to end. Tomorrow, at 10:30 in the morning. The next morning dawned full of promise. For Leah, the world seemed clearer, brighter. The shadow of mistrust had dissipated, and in its place was the certainty of a feeling she was ready to embrace. She went to work feeling light, excited for the future. For Ethan, the morning was charged with a nervous but optimistic anxiety. Today would be the day he would find the perfect way to tell the truth, trusting that the love they had solidified the night before would be strong enough to withstand it. Neither of them knew that their individual plans were about to be annihilated by a third, a plan that was already in motion and whose sole objective was destruction. The atmosphere on the 12th floor is normal. Leah arrives at her desk with a smile, humming a song softly. Her colleagues notice her change in mood. Someone looks happy today. Leah, laughing. It's a good day. At that moment, a mass email arrives for the entire team.
The subject. Urgent. Performance review meeting, 10 a.m. A murmur of anxiety ripples through the office. Surprise meetings with the Director of Strategic Operations are never a good sign.
Leah reads the email, but her good mood is unshakable. Her work was impeccable. She knew it. She had nothing to fear. Little did she know that the target of the meeting was not her professional performance, but her heart. The dreaded meeting had begun. The conference room was cold and silent. Leah and her team are seated around the long table, the anxiety palpable in the air. Isabella is at the front, standing, exuding a controlled calm that is more intimidating than any shout. "Good morning, everyone. I've called you here for a frank conversation about the future of this department." She begins to speak, using corporate jargon about synergy, efficiency, and integrity. To the team, it's a standard corporate speech, but for the audience, who knows her intentions, every word is a cruel irony. Because at Nexus Tech, we value, above all, transparency. There's no room for secrets or hidden agendas. Merit is the only path to success here. She pauses, her gaze sweeping over each team member before landing, for a fraction of a second longer, on Leah. And speaking of success and leadership, we have a surprise appearance today to give a word of encouragement directly from his office on the 15th floor. Please welcome our CEO, Mr. Ethan Miller. Leah's heart leaps with excitement. She leans over to the colleague beside her. "Finally, we get to meet the ghost!" She straightens up in her chair, a bright, curious smile on her face, completely oblivious to the guillotine about to fall. The conference room door opens. A man enters wearing an impeccable suit with a professional smile on his face, expecting to find the board of directors. It's Alex. Time stops. The sound disappears. Leah's brain desperately tries to connect the dots at a dizzying speed. That is Alex's face, the man from the bakery, the man who gave her the job, the man who kissed her last night, but the name Isabella just said was Mr. Ethan Miller. The reference Alex gave her. Say that Ethan sent you. The humiliation at reception, the mysterious call that saved her, the unquestionable authority with which he treated Isabella, the lie, the lie, the lie! It was all a lie! Leah's bright smile freezes, then shatters and crumbles. The light in her eyes goes out, replaced by a wave of shock, then confusion, and finally a pain so deep and sharp it leaves her breathless. The blood drains from her face. She tastes the bitter taste of betrayal in her mouth. Across the room, Ethan's professional smile dies the instant he sees Leah. He sees her team, he sees the trap. His gaze meets hers, and he watches in slow motion as the love and trust on her face transform into devastated horror. He is paralyzed, a prisoner of his own deception. In a corner, Isabella observes the emotional carnage. A tiny, almost imperceptible and absolutely victorious smile touches her lips. The silence in the room is absolute, heavy, unbearable. 3 lives suspended in a single moment of brutal truth. Leah, with her heart shattered. Ethan, confronted with the ruin of everything he wanted. And Isabella, the maestro of the disaster, savoring her perfect victory. The first sound to break the spell is that of a chair being violently pushed back. Leah stands up. Her movements are jerky, uncoordinated. She isn't crying. Her eyes are dry, wide, in a state of shock so deep that the pain hasn't yet found a way out.
She knocks over a water bottle, which rolls across the floor, but she doesn't notice. Her only instinct is to flee. She turns and runs for the door, bumping into a colleague, nearly falling. She doesn't apologize. She sees nothing and no one, only the way out. Her movement frees Ethan from his paralysis. Ethan, his voice hoarse, desperate. "Leo, wait!" He takes a step to go after her, passing a triumphant Isabella without even noticing her. He ignores the shocked faces of his team, the murmurs that begin to rise. His world, which was once that entire meeting room, has now shrunk to the woman fleeing from him down the hall.
Leah arrives, breathless at her desk, her safe space, which now looks like the scene of a crime, a farce. With hands trembling with rage and humiliation, she opens her purse and chaotically starts sweeping her belongings into it. The picture frame with her mother's photo, the mug she bought in her first week, her notebooks. Ethan reaches her, out of breath, panic in his eyes. "Leah, please, let me explain. It's not what you're thinking." She stops and turns to him. And now the pain finally finds its voice. "Not what I'm thinking." She laughs, a terrible sound devoid of any joy. "What am I thinking, Ethan, or Alex, or whatever your real name is? That you found the poorest, most naive girl in town and decided to play a game? A bet with your rich friends? How far can we string the poor girl along?" Every word she says is a stab. "You saw me barefoot, dirty, being humiliated at the reception of your building, and you did nothing? You watched. You let me thank you, call you my guardian angel, while you were laughing at me inside? Was it fun, watching me use your company's advance to buy clothes, thinking I had earned it myself?" Ethan, his voice choked. "No, never. Leah, I swear, it was never that." Leah cuts him off, her voice rising to a scream of pure pain. "Don't lie anymore! Enough lies!" She grabs her purse, ready to leave. He tries to take a step toward her, his hand outstretched. "Ethan, please." Leah recoils as if he were fire. "Don't touch me." She looks at him, and the love that was in her eyes the night before has been replaced by a contempt that destroys him. "I can't stay here anymore. I can't look at this place anymore, or at you." She turns and walks towards the exit, passing the shocked colleagues who have formed a path for her. She doesn't look back. Leah, her voice firm, without turning. "Don't ever look for me again." And then she's gone. The silence she leaves behind is even heavier than before. Ethan stands there, alone, in the middle of the floor, the epicenter of the destruction he himself created. He is the CEO, the man with all the answers. But in that moment, he was completely and hopelessly broken. He had built an empire with strategy and logic, but with a single lie, born of fear, he had demolished the only thing that truly mattered. And now, amidst the ruins of his own heart, he had no idea how to begin to rebuild. Leah's journey home was a blur of pain. Inside the bus, the city's movement passed by the window without her registering a thing. Isolated amidst the anonymous crowd of passengers, she wasn't just returning to her apartment. She was retreating to her only fortress, the only place in the world where her broken heart could find some refuge. Little did she know that upon arriving, she would find a crisis that would make her own pain a luxury she could no longer afford. The small apartment is tidy, and a delicious smell of home-cooked food comes from the kitchen.
Anna, Leah's mother, is in the kitchen, preparing dinner with a smile. Since Leah started her new job, things had improved, and every meal together felt like a small celebration of the new life they were building. The door opens, and Leah enters. The contrast between the happy atmosphere of the apartment and Leah's devastated state is immediate. Her eyes are red and swollen, her face a mask of anguish. Anna's smile dies the instant she sees her daughter. "My child! For God's sake, what happened?" Leah can't hold it in any longer. She collapses into her mother's arms, the sobs finally coming in an overwhelming wave. Anna holds her tightly, guiding her to the small sofa. "Calm down, my love. Breathe. Tell me what happened." Between tears and sentences broken by anger, Leah tells her everything. The lie of Alex, the revelation in the meeting, how the man she thought was her guardian angel was actually Ethan Miller, the billionaire CEO of the company. She tells her how she felt small, deceived, like a toy in a game she never understood. "He let me believe I was special to him, Mom, but it was all a sham. I was just a pastime." A mother's protective fury takes over Anna. What kind of monster does something like that to someone? To play with a person's feelings? That's not a man, that's a coward. Anna hugs her daughter tightly, trying to absorb some of her pain. But the intensity of the story, the stress and the anger she feels for her daughter begin to have a physical effect on her. Anna, stroking Leah's hair. "You'll get through this, my child. You're strong. You'll quit that place tomorrow and never look back. We'll figure something." Her voice breaks. She places a hand on her chest, a sharp expression of pain crossing her face. Leah, absorbed in her own pain, doesn't notice at first. "Leah, that's what I'm going to do. I told him to never look for me again." She stops when she feels her mother stiffen. "Mom, what's wrong?" Anna's face is pale and her breathing becomes shallow and rapid. "Anna, my chest, I can't breathe." Panic replaces the pain in Leah's heart. She switches from victim mode to caregiver mode in the blink of an eye. Mom, look at me. Take a deep breath." But Anna can't. Her eyes roll back, and her body goes limp, nearly fainting in Leah's arms. Pure terror takes over Leah. She holds her mother, preventing her from falling, and with trembling hands, grabs her phone and calls for an emergency. Leah, on the phone. "I need an ambulance. Quick! My mother! She can't breathe!" The ambulance arrives and they rush to the hospital. The cold fluorescent light of the hospital is harsh and unforgiving. The smell of antiseptic is everywhere. Sometime after the scare, Leah is sitting in an uncomfortable plastic chair in the waiting room, alone. The heartbreak from hours ago now seems like a distant, trivial memory, replaced by a primal, overwhelming fear for her mother's life. A doctor approaches, his expression serious. Leah jumps to her feet. "Doctor, my mother, is she going to be okay?" "We've managed to stabilize her. It was a serious cardiac event, exacerbated by a spike in stress. The good news is that she's responding. The bad news is that her heart condition is more delicate than we thought." The doctor continues, explaining the need for a series of tests, expensive medications, and possibly a surgical procedure in the future. He talks about their health plan. "Your insurance will help, but for the kind of specialized and ongoing treatment she'll need, it won't cover everything. We're talking about a considerable amount for out-of-pocket expenses, monitoring, and medications." As the doctor speaks, the camera focuses on Leah's face. The numbers, the medical terms, it all becomes a buzz. In her mind, a single image crystallizes. Her first paycheck from Nexus Tech, the excellent salary, the top-tier health plan. In that moment, the face of Ethan Miller, the liar, the CEO, superimposed itself over the frightening numbers the doctor was quoting. The job, which hours before was the source of her greatest humiliation, suddenly became her mother's only hated lifeline. Leah's tears dry up, her chin sets. The pain, the anger, the wounded pride, all of it becomes secondary. Now, there was only one goal, one duty. "Do whatever it takes, doctor. I'll pay." The decision was made. She couldn't quit her job. As painful as it was, as much as she hated the idea of facing him again, she would return to Nexus Tech the next day. She would return to hell, not for herself, but for her mother. The night is the soul's counselor. For Ethan, it was a night of insomnia and regret, spent in his luxurious apartment that had never felt so empty, replaying the image of Leah's devastated face. For Leah, it was a sleepless night in an uncomfortable hospital chair, the constant beep of her mother's heart monitor becoming the rhythm of her new, terrible determination. Love, anger, humiliation, all of it was compressed and stored in a dark corner of her heart. In the morning, a new Leah arose, not the dreamy girl, nor the betrayed victim, but a woman with an invisible armor and a single purpose: to fight. The next morning, the office is shrouded in a strange silence. The previous day's explosion is the only topic of conversation, but no one dares to speak of it aloud. Employees exchange glances, whisper, speculate.
Leah's desk is empty, a silent memorial to the drama. Everyone assumes she won't be back. The elevator doors open. Leah steps out. An absolute silence falls over the floor. All conversations, all whispers die instantly. All eyes turn to her, shocked. She is not the same woman from the day before. Her face is pale, but her eyes, once filled with pain, are now focused, almost cold. She is wearing one of her new outfits and her posture is impeccable, erect. She doesn't look at anyone. Ignoring the astonished stares, she walks with calm determination to her desk, sits down, turns on her computer, and begins to work as if nothing had happened. The message is clear. She isn't there to make a scene. She is there to work. Ethan is in his office, his face marked by a sleepless night. He is on the phone with Helena Davis, the HR director. Helena, I know what happened yesterday. It was inexcusable. I need you to prepare Leah's severance package, the most generous the company allows. Bonus, severance pay, a 6-month extension of her health plan, everything you can. There's a pause on the other end of the line. Sir, about that. You might want to look at the cameras on the 12th floor. What? Why? Miss Leah is at her desk, working. Ethan is speechless. He hangs up without saying goodbye. Confusion, shock, and a dangerous spark of hope wash over him. He doesn't understand. After everything, why would she come back? He needs to see it with his own eyes and heads to the elevator. Ethan steps out of the private elevator and walks through the 12th floor. His presence makes the tension in the room almost unbearable. Employees pretend to look at their screens, but everyone is aware of the drama. He stops beside Leah's desk. She knows he's there. She can feel his presence, but she doesn't look away from her monitor. She continues to type, the spreadsheets and graphs her only trench. Leah, what are you doing here? Slowly, she stops typing,
But she doesn't turn around. Without looking at him, her voice completely neutral, devoid of any emotion, not anger, not pain, just a glacial professionalism. She replies, I work here, Mr. Miller. The last 2 words hit him harder than a punch. Mr. Miller. The formality is a chasm. It's the annihilation of Alex, the denial of any intimacy they ever had. It's a wall of ice, impenetrable. He tries to say something else, but the words don't come. What could he say? She had checkmated him, using the rules of his own corporate world against him. Defeated, he turns and walks away. Leah finally stops typing and closes her eyes for a second, the emotional exhaustion almost knocking her over. But she opens them again, the image of her mother in the hospital bed in her mind. She gets back to work. Ethan, back in his office, now faces a new mystery. She came back, but not for him. He had won her back at work, but had lost her in a much deeper, more definitive way. And he had no idea why. The silent war had only changed its nature. The days that followed were defined by a new and bizarre routine. The atmosphere on the 12th floor was permanently icy. Leah transformed into a model employee, the first to arrive, the last to leave. Her work was impeccable, her analyses brilliant. But she did it in an almost absolute silence, wrapped in a fortress of professionalism that no one dared to try and penetrate. From the 15th floor, Ethan watched her. A king exiled from his own emotional kingdom. He saw the woman he loved, but he couldn't reach her. And from her own office, Isabella watched them both, annoyed that her prey refused to bow, and began to plot her next attack. Later, a 12th floor department meeting is underway. Isabella presides, her authority unquestionable. To everyone's surprise, Ethan enters and sits in a corner, stating he wants to get more involved with the ongoing projects. His eyes are on Leah, but she never looks at him. Isabella is presenting a new strategy and deliberately starts directing questions to Leah. The questions are complex, full of technical jargon, designed to make her stumble and look incompetent in front of the CEO. Isabella: Leah, based on the fluctuations in the Singapore market, what would be the percentage impact on our secondary supply chain? And I want a projection for 3 scenarios. The room falls silent. The question is brutally difficult for a junior analyst. Ethan leans forward in his chair, tense. Leah, however, doesn't hesitate. With the motivation of her mother's life driving every synapse in her brain, she's sharper than ever. Leah, her voice calm and clear. The impact would be 3.7% in the optimistic scenario, Miss Vance. But, if we consider the current political instability in the region, a more realistic scenario would be a contraction of 5.2%. The third scenario, that of collapse, would lead us to a loss of almost 9%, which would require the activation of our alternative suppliers in Malaysia, on which I have already prepared a preliminary report. She answers perfectly, with data and solutions. Isabella's jaw tightens with anger. Her plan to humiliate her has failed spectacularly. Ethan leans back in his chair, immense pride mixed with a deep sadness. The brilliant woman before him was the reason he hired her, but the ice fortress around her was proof of how much he had hurt her. At the end of the day, furious with Leah's performance, Isabella resorts to her overloading tactic. An email from her arrives in Leah's inbox.
The subject is Urgent Project. Deadline, Monday, 8 a.m. It's another impossible task designed to ruin Leah's weekend and exhaust her. In his office, Ethan, anticipating Isabella's move, is already on the phone with Helena Davis. Ethan: Helena, I want an immediate reassessment of all workloads on the 12th floor and issue a new HR directive company-wide effective immediately. No analyst at any level can be assigned to more than one high-priority project simultaneously. The directive should cite employee well-being and the prevention of burnout. Isabella sees Helena's email with the subject New Corporate Wellness Directive arrive in her inbox. She opens it, reads it, and her face contorts in a silent rage. Ethan has neutralized her, using the company's own structure against her. Leah, who was looking at Isabella's impossible task with despair, receives the same email about the new directive. Shortly after, an email from her manager. Leah, in compliance with the new wellness policy, I am transferring Project X to the Tuesday team. Have a good weekend. She stares at the screen, completely confused. Her first reaction is relief, followed by immediate suspicion. Could it be him? No. She shakes her head, refusing to believe in coincidences or false guardian angels. At the end of the day, the office is almost empty. Leah is packing her things to leave, her mind still trying to process the project's turnaround. She picks up her bag and notices a plain white envelope on her chair. It has no return address, just her name, Leah, typed in a clean font. Curious, she opens it. Inside, there's no letter. There's a check. A personal check, not from the company. The amount is enough to cover all of her mother's initial hospital expenses and then some. Her hands start to shake. On the memo line of the check, there is a single sentence, also typed. For the woman who bought me a bagel when I had nothing. Consider the debt paid. Leah sits down abruptly in her chair, her legs weak. The air is knocked out of her. There's no signature. It doesn't need one. It can only be him. The ice fortress she had built around her heart begins to crack. The anger, the pain, the cold professionalism, all of it is shaken by that gesture.
It wasn't an act of power from the CEO, it was an act of gratitude from Alex. She is holding the solution to the biggest problem in her life, but it came from the source of her greatest pain. Would accepting it be surrender? Would refusing it be sacrificing her mother's health for pride? She feels a whirlwind of conflict and agony. For the first time since the revelation, she is completely and utterly in check. At home, Leah is sitting at the small kitchen table. The check is on the table, lit by the only lamp on in the room. It looks like an artifact from another planet amidst the simplicity of the apartment. Hours have passed. Her phone rings and it's a nurse from the hospital. She speaks in a quiet voice. After a few minutes, she hangs up, her face tense with worry for her mother. Later, she's in front of her laptop looking at her bank account balance. The number is laughable, a joke compared to what she needs. She closes the laptop with a frustrated sigh. Finally, she picks up the check. Her fingers trace the typed line. For the woman who bought me a bagel when I had nothing. Consider the debt paid. The tears she held back all day begin to fall, silent. They are not tears of anger, but of agonizing confusion.
Accepting the money felt like surrender, refusing it a betrayal to her mother. The sun begins to rise, streaming through the window. Leah hasn't slept. Her eyes are tired, but there's a new light in them. A decision has been made. She stands up, carefully places the check inside an envelope, and gets ready to leave. Not for the 12th floor, for the 15th. The 15th floor is another world. The silence is absolute, the hallways are wider with works of art on the walls. Ethan's assistant, an older, imposing woman, is at her desk outside his office. Leah steps out of the elevator. Her presence there is an anomaly. The assistant stares at her, surprised. "Can I help you?" "I need to speak with Mr. Miller. It's urgent." "He's on a call. Do you have an appointment?" Leah doesn't answer. She walks directly to the double doors of Ethan's office, gives 2 firm knocks, and, without waiting for a response, enters. Ethan is on the phone, his back to the door, looking out the window. He turns at the sound of the door opening, ready to reprimand the interruption. He freezes when he sees Leah. He hangs up the call mid-sentence. "Leah!" She says nothing. She walks with calm determination to his enormous desk and places the white envelope on the polished wood right in front of him. "I can't accept this." He stands up, desperation on his face. "Leah, please, it's not charity. It's not a payment. It's what? A way to clear your conscience? A bonus for me being so naive? You can't break my heart and then try to buy my forgiveness, Ethan." The use of the name Ethan is an admission. She is finally speaking to the man behind the mask. "It has nothing to do with forgiveness. It has to do with gratitude. That day at the bakery, you reminded me that there's still kindness in the world. You have no idea what that gesture meant to me. Please, let me do this for your mother. Not for me, for her." His sincerity disarms her. The direct mention of her mother, the focus on helping her, cracks Leah's armor of anger. She looks at the check, then at him. She sees the genuine agony in his eyes, the same agony she felt. "I can't accept it as a gift." She pushes the envelope back toward him. "But I will accept it as a loan. I will pay you back every single cent, with interest." An overwhelming relief floods Ethan's face. Her proposal is a bridge, a way for her to maintain her dignity and at the same time for him to be able to help her. "However you want, whatever terms you want." He takes a sheet of letterhead and a pen, but instead of a formal contract, he writes something simple. "I, Ethan Miller, loan the amount of, to be repaid when and how she is able." He signs it and slides the paper and pen across the desk to her. Leah stares at the document. It's not a contract, it's an act of faith. To accept, she must sign,
sealing a new and incredibly complicated pact with the man who lied to her. The camera focuses on her hand, trembling slightly as she picks up the pen. In the silence of the 15th floor, the world came down to that single sheet of paper. It wasn't a legal contract with clauses and conditions, but a pact. A pact of vulnerability, of gratitude, and of a fractured trust that both were desperately trying to mend. For Leah, signing meant swallowing her pride for her mother's health. For Ethan, her signature would be the first sign that forgiveness, perhaps, was not impossible. Leah stares at the paper, the pen trembling slightly in her hand.
Ethan remains standing, silent, not daring to breathe, giving her the space to decide. After a long moment that feels like an eternity, Leah takes a deep breath and signs her name on the paper. The sound of the pen tip gliding across the sheet is the only noise in the room. She pushes the paper back to him. The pact is sealed. Leah, her voice still professional, but less icy. I'll keep you updated on my mother's health, and I'll present a repayment plan as soon as the situation stabilizes. Ethan. He looks at her signature, an immense relief on his face. Leah, the only thing that matters to me is that your mother gets well. She nods, unable to look him in the eye directly. She turns and walks to the door. Leah. Before leaving, without turning around, thank you, Ethan. The use of his name, Ethan, this time without the Mr. Miller, is a small olive branch, an admission that she is at least willing to see the man behind the CEO. She leaves, leaving him alone with the signed paper and a spark of hope. Later, at the hospital, Leah is talking to a doctor in the hospital corridor. This time her posture is different. She is confident, asking questions, approving treatments. Later, she is by the bedside of her mother, Anna, who smiles at her, the color already returning to her face. The weight of the world has been lifted from both their shoulders. Now at the company, Leah and Ethan cross paths in the hallway. The tension has evaporated, replaced by a shy awkwardness. They don't stop to talk, but they exchange a nod. It's a silent acknowledgement of their pact, a shared secret. A moment later, Leah is in a meeting presenting one of her analyses. Her performance is, as always, brilliant. At the end, Ethan, who was present, speaks up. Excellent work, Leah. Your approach on this project was innovative and gave us the clarity we needed. Good job. The praise, coming directly from the CEO, is public. Leah is surprised and a little embarrassed, while the other managers look at her with a new level of respect. Ethan is no longer just protecting her, he is elevating her. Meanwhile, Isabella watches this new dynamic from afar, and her face is a mask of contained fury. The truce between them is a personal affront to her. Her plans of corporate harassment have failed. Ethan's money has neutralized Leah's greatest vulnerability. She is losing control. She is on a new video call with her father, Arthur Vance. Isabella. He's paying her mother's medical bills. He praises her publicly in meetings. He's not coming to his senses, Dad. He's completely blinded by that girl. Arthur, on screen, his voice cold as steel. Isabella, I assured you you would handle this. The board is getting impatient. The merger depends on your engagement to him. I do not tolerate failure. He ends the call, leaving Isabella staring at the dark screen. The threat from her father is the last straw. She has been cornered. Her status, her power, her future in the company all depend on separating Ethan and Leah, and conventional methods haven't worked. Her face, once just irritated, now transforms into something dangerous, unhinged. Reason is gone. Only desperation remains. She picks up her personal cell phone and dials a number that is not in her corporate contacts, a number of a problem solver from her past. Isabella, on the phone.
her voice low and venomous. "I have a problem that needs solving. A girl. I don't want her hurt. I just want her to get a scare. A scare big enough to make her disappear from the city. Forever." The camera focuses on her face, a cruel smile forming on her lips.
The corporate games were over. The hunt was about to turn physical. A fragile routine of peace settled in the days following the pact. Leah focused on her mother's recovery, paid for with money that was both her salvation and the reminder of her pain. Ethan, in turn, protected her from the shadows, using his power to ensure her work was fair and her talent recognized. But the shadow that threatened them was not content with corporate games. Cornered and desperate, Isabella had set a much more dangerous gear in motion, and the calm was about to be shattered. It's evening, almost 2 weeks after the pact. The 12th floor is, once again, nearly empty. Leah is at her desk, finishing a report. She is tired, but there is a satisfaction on her face. She is in control of her professional life. She packs up her things to leave. She calls the elevator. When the doors open, Ethan is inside, alone. He had also been working late. For a moment, they both hesitate. "Going down?" "Yes." She gets in. The silence in the elevator is no longer icy as before, but it's charged with everything left unsaid. It's not hostile, but it's not comfortable either. It's the silence of two people who share a deep and complicated secret. They exit into the lobby and walk toward the exit, at a respectful distance from each other. The street is dark and has little traffic. The night is cold. Leah heads to the spot where she usually gets a taxi, while Ethan stays closer to the entrance, waiting for David. Two male figures emerge from the shadows of a nearby alley and walk toward Leah. Their movements are quick and silent, with a sinister purpose. Ethan, who was discreetly watching her to make sure she got her ride safely, feels a chill of alarm. This isn't right. Before Leah can even sense the danger, the two men reach her. One grabs her from behind, covering her mouth to muffle her scream. The other holds her arms. Man 1, in a threatening whisper, "You were warned to stay away. I guess you didn't get the message." Terror paralyzes Leah. Ethan doesn't think, he acts. A cry of pure fury escapes his throat. "Let her go!" He drops his briefcase and runs toward them. Fueled by adrenaline, he slams into the man holding Leah's arms, knocking him down. He turns to the other, landing a punch that makes him stagger and release Leah. For a second, he stands between her and the two assailants. But the advantage is short-lived. They are bigger and more experienced. They attack him together. Ethan fights with a ferocity he didn't know he possessed, blocking, dodging, but taking more hits than he can land. A punch hits him in the face, the taste of blood filling his mouth. Another hits him in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him. He falls to his knees, but still crawls to stay in front of Leah, a determined human shield. At that exact moment, the headlights of a black sedan flood the scene, the sound of tires screeching on the asphalt. David arrives, jumping out of the car. The two assailants see the witness, exchange a look, and as quickly as they appeared, they run and disappear back into the darkness. The adrenaline wears off, and the pain takes over. Ethan, gasping for breath, collapses onto the cold ground, his body aching, his face bleeding. Leah's ice fortress disintegrates. All the pride, all the hurt, all the professional distance she had meticulously built are pulverized by terror and overwhelming gratitude. She rushes to him, falling to her knees beside him, the tears finally streaming uncontrollably. She holds his face in her trembling hands, wiping the blood from his lip with her thumb. Leah, her voice broken by sobs. "Ethan, oh my God, why did you do that? They could have killed you." He coughs, his breathing difficult, but his eyes never leave hers. In the midst of the pain, there is a clarity, a final truth. Ethan, with difficulty, each word an effort. "I would never let anyone hurt you." David approaches, his face serious. "Sir, we need to get to the hospital." With David's help, a weeping Leah supports Ethan, helping him stand and get into the back of the car.
The doors close, isolating them in a world of pain, fear, and an undeniable truth. His sacrifice had demolished the last wall that remained between them. The ride to the hospital was filled with fear. In the sterile environment of the emergency room, surrounded by a chaotic calm, Leah refused to leave Ethan's side. Doctors and nurses came and went, but the only constant was her hand holding his. The pain, the bruises, the cuts, none of it mattered. What mattered was that he was alive. The man she had tried to hate, whom she had tried to keep at a distance, had thrown himself in front of danger for her. And in that act, all the lies were burned away, leaving behind only the essence of what he felt, a truth she was now ready to hear. A private hospital room, quiet and dark, except for the soft glow of the monitors beeping rhythmically. Ethan is lying in bed, sleeping under the effect of painkillers. His face is bruised, with a bandage over his eyebrow and a cut lip, but his breathing is stable. Leah is sitting in an armchair next to the bed, but she isn't leaning back. She is leaning forward, holding Ethan's hand with both of hers. She isn't sleeping. Her eyes are fixed on his face, studying every detail, as if to make sure he is real, that he is safe. The tears have dried, replaced by a silent, fiercely protective vigil. The ice armor had melted, and what was left was a love so deep it scared her. Ethan's eyelids flutter and slowly open. He is groggy, confused. The first thing he focuses on is Leah's face, illuminated by the faint light from the machines. Ethan, his voice hoarse and weak. "Leah, you stayed?" Tears of relief well up in Leah's eyes. She squeezes his hand gently. "I'm never leaving your side again." A faint smile touches Ethan's bruised lips. He looks at her, and now, with no more barriers, no more fear, he finally tells her everything. "I need you to know everything. No more Alex, no more half-truths." He tells her about the arranged engagement with Isabella, the pressure from his father and the board, and how he felt like a prisoner in his own life. He tells her about his paralyzing fear that no one would ever see him for who he was, only for the Miller last name. "When I met you, lost, dirty, with nothing, I felt more myself than I had in years. And when you helped me, you didn't help the CEO, you helped a man. And I was a coward. I created Alex because I was desperate to keep that feeling, to have something that was real, that wasn't tainted by my money." He continues, his voice gaining strength with sincerity. "Every lie I told was out of fear of losing you, fear that you would look at me the same eyes as everyone else. But this is the truth, Leah. I fell in love with you the moment you shared your bagel with me, and everything I've done since then, no matter how wrong and stupid it was to try and stay close to you." Leah listens in silence, tears streaming freely. Every word he says fills in the gaps, heals the wounds. His heroic act on the street proved his love, and now his words finally explained his pain. The last shadow of doubt dissipates. Leah leaning in and kissing his forehead. "I forgive you, Ethan." His eyes fill with tears. The relief is so overwhelming it's almost painful. He holds her hand with all the strength he can muster. "I almost lost you. I can't live with that possibility again." He looks at her, the most important question of his life in his eyes. "Leah, marry me." The proposal catches her by surprise.
A marriage proposal in a hospital room from a bruised man who, until the day before, she thought she hated. It's crazy, it's impulsive, and it's the most right thing she has ever felt. A smile, the first truly happy smile in weeks, illuminates her face through her tears. Yes, I'll marry you, Ethan." The beep of the heart monitor speeds up slightly, a silent testament to the moment. They stay there, holding hands, in the silent sanctuary of the hospital room. The lies were over. The external battles might still exist, but the internal war had finally come to an end. The days that followed in the hospital were a healing calm. With the truth finally between them, Ethan and Leah rediscovered each other without masks or secrets. When he was finally discharged, the news of the engagement began to spread through the halls of Nexus Tech like a tidal wave, generating a new wave of shock and gossip. But for the couple, it was just the distant sound of a world that no longer mattered as much to them. They had each other. And for Isabella, this news was not a rumor. It was a declaration of her final defeat, and she would not accept it in silence. A week later, Ethan is back in his office. A small cut on his eyebrow, almost healed, is the only physical evidence of the attack. He's not alone. Leah is with him, sitting in one of the armchairs, reviewing a document, her presence there calm and natural. They are a united front. The office door bursts open. Isabella storms into the room, her face distorted with fury. Isabella, Mary, her, you must be out of your mind. Ethan stands up calmly, subtly placing himself between Isabella and Leah. Ethan, it's over, Isabella. Get out of my company and get out of my life. The absolute rejection in front of Leah is too much for Isabella to bear. Her composure breaks, and the ugly, desperate truth comes out in a scream. I can't believe it. I did all of this for us. I just wanted to scare her, make her leave. You aren't supposed to get hurt. She stops, breathless, realizing too late the enormity of what she has just confessed. A deathly silence falls over the room. Ethan and Leah look at each other. The last piece of the puzzle, the origin of the attack, falls into place. It wasn't random. It was her. Ethan's face, once calm, transforms into a mask of icy fury. Ethan, to Leah, his voice low, call security. He picks up his phone and dials a number. Ethan, on the phone. Hello? I need a squad car at Nexus Tech. I have a confession to an assault. Isabella turns pale, terror finally replacing her anger. Ethan, no, I didn't mean it. But it's too late. Security arrives, followed by the police. The scene ends with Isabella being escorted out of the building in handcuffs, her invasion ending not with a victory, but with a final, public humiliation. Later, lawyers formalized the dissolution of the multi-million-dollar partnership with her father's company, cutting Ethan's last tie to his past. Justice, finally, was served. A few months later, it's autumn. The leaves in the park where it all began are in shades of gold and red. The air is crisp and clean. The afternoon sunlight is soft and golden. It's a scene of peace and beauty. Ethan and Leah walk hand in hand along the same trail. They're not wearing suits or corporate attire, but comfortable jeans and sweaters. They are laughing, an easy, genuine laugh that echoes through the trees. They sit on a bench in front of the small corner bakery in Delhi. Leah rests her head on Ethan's shoulder, sighing contentedly. Remember that day? The richest man in the city, needing me to buy him a bagel. Ethan smiles, kissing the top of her head. It was the best investment of my life. They kiss. It's not a kiss of desperate passion or post-crisis relief. It's a kiss of peace. A kiss of promises fulfilled, and a future they are building together, based on honesty and, above all, on love. Finally, happily ever after. A lie can get halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its boots on. But in the end, the truth always finds its way. Ethan and Leah's journey reminds us that a person's true value is not in what they have, but in what they are willing to give. And that sometimes getting lost is the only way to truly find yourself. And you? Do you believe true love can overcome any lie? What was your favorite part of this story? Leave your opinion in the comments below. We love reading what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our next exciting stories.